Hi, I'm Dr. Stuart Gerber, one of the percussion instructors here at Georgia State University. This video is for the concert band snare drum piece. So hopefully you found the right video. And just discuss a couple topics that you might want to think about as you're preparing this piece. That I will do the full versions of these etudes later, but I thought maybe we could dive in and talk about some of the issues that one needs to think about for the actual the excerpted audition piece. And in measure 18, the flams. So this is a tricky, and this is obviously from the Anthony Cerrone Rhythm, Portraits in Rhythm book. I think it's number 10, they said, or it's based on. So in measure 18 of this excerpt, well, it's fourth measure of the excerpt, you have these flams, right? And so I play these as flam taps. I think that makes sense, rather than trying to, alternate, play all the same flams. And the way I have it, the way I stick it is I'll start with a left hand flam. So a left hand flam tap and then a right hand flam tap. Same thing in the second beat, and then left, right, left in the last beat. So that I start the next measure in measure 19 on my right hand, and I'm right-handed, so on my dominant hand. If you're left-handed, you can just kind of switch those up. So I turn the snares off just for volume. So that's how I stick those. And yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward. The other another issue with this piece is the last three measures of the piece, starting measure 22. It's kind of a tricky section because it's fast and it's soft. So so we have these dotted 16ths followed by 32nd notes, and then a group of 16-note triplets. And so what the tendency is for many people, not just students, and even when I was learning this, I caught myself doing this. That's why I want to point this part out. The tendency is to make those, the dotted 16th followed by the 32nds more like a triplet feel. So something like, I'll play a little louder for now. I'll play like mezzo piano. Something like that. That's because we have triplets in those figures. The tendency is to play those a little too much like triplets. So I think what's really important here is to try to make it really different. So we have really make that a 16th note feel, or I guess, a 32nd note, dotted 16th, 32nd note feel, a duple kind of really feel. So what I try to do in my mind is I almost over dot it. I almost make that space between the first note and the second note wider than I think it is, so that when I get the triplets, it doesn't sound anything like triplets. So something like that. That's what I do there. And then on the the fourth partial of measure 22, after the first triplet, I do that as a left-left, and then I do the triplet, and then also the sixth partial of that measure I do as a left-left. The other ones I alternate when possible, and then in the measure 23 on the fifth partial, I do as a left-left as well. I don't overplay the accents on these triplets because it's still pianissimo, and I just give a little bit of accent there. You might want to give it a little bit more than I do, but I kind of want to keep the whole thing soft. Another thing I'll talk about with soft playing, and I'll put the snares on for this. A lot of people will, just when they see piano or pianissimo, they'll automatically move their beats to the edge, which is fine. It's definitely soft. But the problem is, if you're playing here before that, like it has such a nice full snare sound and I'm not talking volume, I'm just talking snare sound. If you go to here, it's really thin. So I will go to the edge sometimes, but I encourage you to experiment with playing, loudly and then softly in this more or less the same spot. And I'm recording this on my phone. I don't think the mic's super sensitive. Like on the video, I feel like in real life I'm getting a much bigger differentiations, but trying to get the touch and the control so that you can play softly, pianissimo, on a sweet spot of the drum. So you still get all that snare response, but it's just soft, rather than a really thin sound. And I think what happens is sometimes we just say, well, that's the sound of a soft snare drum. And I actually would argue that the sound of a soft snare drum is the same as the sound of as a loud snare drum, just, softer. The last thing I'll talk about is measure 20. In the video, these are fast notes. Something like that. I might be a little even under tempo right now. They're fast. And I experimented with doing, so basically I do a right hand lead or natural sticking there. And I also don't overplay the accents, because I found if I was overplaying them, then it slows me down. Right? So I play the accents, but I don't overplay them. The other thing I tried, because it's just on the verge of being annoyingly fast, I also tried doing diddles with my left hand. And I kind of like it. It actually helps bring the accent out a little bit more too. I ended up sticking with the right hand lead, but I don't know, on a different day I might do the diddles. So you can experiment with that. If you can't quite get the notes sounding good with the natural sticking or alternating, try some diddles. So strong hand on the accents, weak hand on the diddles. As long as you get a clear rhythm, either way should be acceptable. Good luck with this audition. I hope that these tips helped a little bit as you're preparing this. As I said, I will record the entire etude at some point as we get closer, but you have to focus on this first round, the district round, so I wish you all the best. Thanks.